Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're back live this Thursday night. I've had a week off, bringing big energy tonight. I'm back. I've had a week off it, and I'm ready to talk about all things hope, healing, and recovery tonight. Sharing your journey with Mel tonight, an expert. And as I said, we've been grabbing them from right around the world, but we've got one just up the road tonight in Melbourne, which is beautiful, bringing comfort to your home in this difficult time and providing information and shared knowledge that enables us to become something greater with each waking day. Big thank you to our sponsor, Resilience Agenda, changing the meaning of mental health. Imagine a world where people are inspired to think of their mental fitness the same way we do of our physical fitness, and to know the tools and strategies that make learning about our own mental health more relevant, more engaging, more inspiring. So you can find that their tools and resources online, but more importantly, they've given us a heap of these resilience agendas, which are an absolute work of art, and I will be giving them away to people that engage in the conversation tonight. I'll also be giving away this book, Ripples, which is inspiring stories of wisdom, truth, and growth from charity and business leaders. In there, you'll find my story, which is a beauty, and many others. So I'll be giving away a few things tonight. If people want to engage, drop comments, and we'll get that done tonight. Big shout out to the I Am movement and Tanika and Team Slade. I don't know if everyone's seen on Mindful Oz over the last couple of days, but Mindful Oz has collaborated with the I Am movement. In our primary school, we'll be now bringing culturally sensitive emotional cue cards to school libraries and classrooms right around Australia. And they look a little something like this. So we've got little Team Slade. We've got Slade, who's 3 years old, that lives with autism, on our emotional cue cards now. And they will be distributed again with all our primary schools all across the globe. So that's pretty exciting for us. Another big shout out to Melbourne University and 180 Degrees Consulting, who look after Mindful Oz and provide us with the evaluation process to look after our primary school programs and ensure that we're doing everything right. So big thank you to them. A shout out to the Funding Network. There might be a reason that I've got a bit of energy and go about me tonight. Last night, we were fortunate enough to pitch for 6 minutes as one of 3 mental health organisations in Australia live last night, and we're fortunate enough to walk away with $70,000, which will go towards further development and implementation of our primary school program, which will ensure that we see so many young, beautiful lives benefited, knowing that they know how to identify, control, and express their emotions in a positive way. So shout out to the Funding Network and every single person involved with there. I love you a great deal, and feeling lots of joy today. So just a big reminder to everyone that these are episodes with experts, like you've probably seen over the last 10. This is episode 11. They're experts in their given field who have a wealth of knowledge and experiences to share. However, if you are experiencing suicidal crisis or worried about your loved ones during this time or any time throughout this episode, please remember to call Lifeline on 13 11 14 or Beyond Blue on 1300 22 46 36. So we might get those numbers down the bottom. They're still down there now. So by all means, please, tonight, we try and keep a tab across everything that happens in the comments, and we love for all those comments to come through. But if you are experiencing suicidal crisis, please reach out to Lifeline on 13 11 14 or Beyond Blue on 1300 32 46 36. So our guest tonight, I'm joined by Melissa Yu, the entrepreneur behind Ego Expo, MCL events, and she's an avid keynote speaker and suicide prevention advocate who I've been fortunate enough to meet. Unfortunately for Mel, her story through mental health advocacy stems from tragedy. Mel knows the realities of navigating through the system all too well after losing her partner of 6 years to suicide. She now helps others understand the impact of the system as I said, an avid mental health ambassador. Melissa has lived and seen firsthand the ripple effects of suicide on loved ones and the wider community, which has led her to become a passionate Lifeline crisis supporter in their crisis centres. So taking lots of calls as a volunteer, which is a really beautiful thing that she does. And shout out to all the people that do that. What a beautiful bloody thing that is, that we've got people that are able to take those calls, because we know how many we get. Having the lived experiences of loss, tragedy, and experiencing her own troubles along the way, through those tough years. She's also studied psychology for many years before moving into roles on her journey with Beyond Blue, Lifeline, Are You OK? And even Mindful Oz, which is obviously my favourite. So she points out that her story is sadly not unique, with an average of 8 Australians dying from suicide each day, which we're very familiar with. As Mel says, the real tragedy of mental illness is that people are hating themselves so much that they can't be themselves, which we're huge advocates here at Mindful Oz. And while there's always a choice, an alternative to suicide, people need that guidance, as we know that humans are wired for that love, belonging, and connection. Melissa believes that we need to get better at educating children about mental illness and mental health. That must be why she loves Mindful Oz so much, I'm assuming, Mel. As she says, we're getting to them too late. By the time they're in hospital beds, their learned behaviours and coping mechanisms are already cemented and in place. I've personally known Mel for many years now. Her what she's created is phenomenal, but some of the more amazing things that she's been able to achieve, including interviewing the likes of Mark Wahlberg in California, which I'm sure we'll get to tonight because that's cool as, becoming founder and host of Australia's largest streetwear exhibition, and various other charity gala balls, weddings, fundraisers and events, not only in the mental health space, but for lots of organisations, including her time volunteering with several different charities. Obviously, Mindful Oz is one of those, and our favourites here at Mindful Oz in Christmas on the Streets. A real pocket rocket, an entrepreneurial dynamo. Mel, I'm inspired by you. Your drive and energy. I'll bring her up now. Let's see, Mel. Your drive and energy to do better, to be better, to love people for who they really are is something that inspires me. And I'm sure this conversation tonight will shift the mindsets of some and provide them with valuable learning. So today we're going to be diving into something that I'm interested in. It's something that we haven't touched on just yet, and that's relationships and the beauties of those in isolation, or more so how not to strangle each other in this time. So Mel, you superstar, welcome to Confined by Walls, Not by Heart.
What an intro. What an intro. Thank you. Thanks so much, Matt. Thanks for everyone for joining on your Thursday night and tuning in. I'm super excited to be here, super excited for the next hour. That sounds like one hella list of a resume, but hopefully through this conversation, let's not make me extraordinary, because we all can be, and we can all be a little bit better. So yeah.
Absolutely. And talking about being better, Mel, let's start from where the situation that we're in right now, COVID-19, isolation. I haven't been able to see your face, haven't seen that pearly white smile. How you been doing, and what's it look like for you?
Yeah, look, I've been pretty good, which I'm pretty proud about. Relatively calm, which shows for me, for my own internal journey, a lot of growth, which I'm excited about. This is week 5 for me of isolation or quarantine or lockdown. So 5 weeks ago, when the Australian laws sort of came into stage 2 and 3 restrictions, working in events and also working at Marvel Stadium basically meant the shutdown of my entire business and my entire source of revenue and income. So that's been 5 weeks now. Initially, I think there was a hell of a lot of fear. Naturally, I think everyone else was going through that too. Now that I've kind of settled into that ISO routine, having a routine's been incredibly helpful for me to stay mentally well. And yeah, so I've been pretty good, and keeping busy with conversations like this. Just making sure that I'm still finding that routine, finding purpose, even though my normal has shifted and has definitely been turned upside down.
Yeah, we've talked about that in previous episodes, that pendulum shift that we're seeing in our lives being turned upside down, and will this norm be the new norm? I don't think we'll ever go back to all the ways in which we operated, and maybe some of those are really good. I want to take you back to the start of your story, Mel, and I know it's one of tragedy, but it's also one of hope, healing and recovery, and it's one that's inspired many people. Take us back to I want to start right back, real young Melissa. You, I know you grew up with a lot of different challenges and situations in culturally non-sensitive environments, I guess, and bullying. Do you want to take us right back to the start?
Yeah, great. So early Melu, born in 1990, grew up in a little town, which is not so little anymore, but a town called Patterson Lakes. And I always describe those that don't know what Patterson Lakes is, it's like a home and away. It's really like Summers Bay, lots of palm trees, lots of lakeside views. An amazing town, great sort of place to bring a family up. But back in the 90s, I guess the early signs for me was we were one of the only Asian families in that area. And my parents divorced when I was 3. So that was as well, that early separation from my mum and dad was, without knowing it, I guess the early sort of stages of identity issues. Struggling with belonging was a huge one for me growing up. And that kind of moved through to primary school. Primary school was still one of the only Chinese families. I lived with my grandma. In Asian communities, it's really common for our grandparents to live with us. But I didn't have any of that understanding as well. So I felt quite ashamed of it. I felt like, why is my grandma living with me? And why, like, I didn't want that. And so I tried to do a lot to hide away from my culture really early on. That then moved into high school. I was quite a bubbly kid, I was a popular kid, incredibly friendly. That sense of belonging and sense of wanting to belong, I think, stemmed it ingrained in even further. And what that looked like was me starting to wear a lot of makeup, me going to a lot of parties, being a little bit of a delinquent, being a little bit of a troublemaker, trying to hang out with the popular groups. But that sense of belonging also made me a chameleon, I found. And which I am kind of thankful for now, that I am a little bit of a chameleon, because it meant that I was cool enough to hang out with the popular kids, but I was also nerdy enough and a bit of a dork to hang out with the performing arts students or the Asian groups and whatnot. So I kind of did like that about me. I wanted to fit in everywhere. So therefore I didn't really feel like I had a group. Mel was just this social butterfly that just always tried to belong everywhere, although everyone's out, but hey. So they were kind of the early stages of my upbringing, my parents' divorce, and just being one of the only Asians in a Western area. And then, as you said, that moved into my early adulthood life. So early adulthood life, I fell in love. I met a guy called Gus, and Gus changed my world. He was my incredible lover. He was my rock star, and we were together for the better of 6 years. That relationship wasn't without flaws. It was passionate, it was intense, but it didn't come without flaws. And now with hindsight, I think looking back at the relationship, it was just 2 kids trying to belong and trying to fit in. So Gus had his own difficulties and struggles with his upbringing, issues with drug and alcohol abuse, and also being quite emotional and probably not being able to articulate or control those emotions, which over a course of the 6 years, this ultimately led to a few of Gus's suicide attempts and his eventual death by suicide in January 2014. So that, I guess, yeah, that was the biggest fork in the road for me. If I had thought having struggles with parents' divorce and cultural identity issues and bullying in high school for being Chinese, nothing prepared me for this. Yeah, I was 23 years old when I had to plan for my 23-year-old boyfriend's funeral.
I think I've just finished watching the episode of Yourself with Brad, and I think we've just had the same response to your story there, Mel. And it's, yeah, you go stiff as a board because it's something that I can't comprehend, and it's, I mean, to find your boyfriend, and now I think we've just gone past 6 years as an anniversary of Gus, and as you've mentioned in other podcasts, now having gone as long without him as you spent with him, you're finding really tough and difficult, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I guess it's a part of life. I I've learned now that death is an incredible part of life. It's unavoidable. It's inevitable. And over the years, as you grow, it doesn't matter who you are, what socioeconomic group you're in, what race, what gender, whatever it is, you will go through loss and you will go through grief. And, you know, just me and you having this chat today, you know, you can vouch for that. And it's just really how you make meaning with that loss and grief so that you can turn all of that pain and all of that hurt into some sense of purpose and a message.
Yeah, and you've done exactly that. I mean, it's been a process. How do you get the ball rolling after grief? How do you process that, and how do you start to work through that? I know some people right now that are going through the exact same thing. A lot of friends at the moment, and they might be tuning in or not. So tonight, or might watch this at a later date. How do we start to process that grief, and what are the steps in which you took to start to work through those tough and difficult situations?
I think the first step is that there are no steps and the ball isn't rolling. I think you free fall straight into rock bottom whenever you lose a loved one, and significantly when you lose a loved one to suicide, just for the factors around the lack of answers, always feeling like you could have done more. There's blame, shame, and unknowns around suicide. But I can't speak for everyone. I don't know if that, like, there are stages of grief and you can look those up, but I think everyone goes through grief and mourning and loss very differently and uniquely. It is your own journey, whatever that relationship is with that person. But for me, grief initially is not about being strong, although that's all I try to be for everyone else. All we can ask is for you to be a bit brave and have a little bit of courage. Courage to see through another day, whatever that day may look like. It may initially be just trying to get through minutes, you know, and eventually the minutes do turn into hours and your hours will turn into days. And yeah, you slowly, day by day, I think the poison leaves. And how you can best manage that is, for me anyway, I think surrounding yourself with incredible people, surrounding yourself with a really good network helped me push through a lot of things. My self-care went out the window, but having the loved ones around me who cared about me and put me as their priority ensured that I was eating and showering at the most basic. And those initial stages, that, like, straight after the funeral, that first month, getting out of bed was a success. You know, for that day. If all I achieved was getting out of the bed and having a shower, maybe that was all that I needed to do that day, and that's totally okay. Avoiding judgment for yourself, showing and having a bit of kindness and empathy for yourself, and just letting yourself off the hook. For me, with that amazing resume that you read out there, like, I am a go-getter, and naturally I was that as well. But when something that shocking can hit your system and hit your life, letting yourself off the hook is okay.
And it relates so much to the time we're in. I think there's a lot of people right now that aren't necessarily letting themselves off the hook or giving themselves the permission to just be gentle right now and to take the days that are necessary to just be whatever you need to be, whether that's being not your best self or not being able to move from the bed, or whether it's having a half day off. I think there's a lot of people right now that are feeling a lot of guilt for being in those situations and feeling like we still have to keep the balls rolling every day.
Well, it's so hard because I think now, like, with this pandemic that's going on, the highlight reels haven't stopped, you know, like Instagram, Facebook. We're still very consumed by all of this digital technology and media and influx of, I know the people that I normally follow, which is all about the hustle and being an entrepreneur and being on the grind. And, you know, you got to use this time to develop a new skill, and you got to use this time to be appreciative and double down on gratitude. And 100% it is all that. But it's also like, now's the time to just pause as well. Yeah. And that's okay too. I think more than anything else that we need, apart from learning a new skill and learning this and doing that and having a good ISO routine, is having more humanity. I think now is the most perfect time just to show a little bit more kindness to your neighbor and to a stranger and to your audience online, whatever that may be. So exactly what you said, just being, pausing and just
being. and that kindness to ourselves. I think that that's a process of I guess for anyone that's listening, if you're sitting in guilt or sitting in a system that's trying to tell you in a dialogue that's trying to tell you that you need to keep the balls rolling and keep moving, I think that that's an action signal also that maybe I've got some work to do on myself, if that's what I feel in this moment. I mean, every single thought that we have is a thought, and it's our opportunity to grab it and to know, why do I feel like that? Can I change it? Can I remove it? Can I grow from it? Is it right? Is it wrong? Next thought, and grab the next one. Not to let thoughts pass us without using them or knowing that they're an action signal for change. So there's obviously a lot of people that are sitting in this right now, and we've seen our emails, our inboxes just flood with people wanting help right now.
Yeah.
As we spoke about on the other episodes, I don't know that it's people needing help because of the difficulty of what COVID's done to them. I think it's the difficulty in what COVID's created in stillness for the world that enables us to all of a sudden hear our thoughts and feelings and go, shit, I've got a bit going on and I need to deal with it because I can't be bothered I'm sick and tired of being putting up with these thoughts. But when we're in that daily rat race and that hustle, like you talk about, it's very easy to minimize those thoughts or to ignore them or suppress them by being focused on everything else but the thought itself.
I completely agree, Matt. And I think for especially those that are feeling the loss of their job, people are potentially being stood down from work, or work's quieting down, or now that there's this additional layer of fear of that loss of employment and financial income. And we work 60% of our days, where they're 8 hours, 10 hours, and we normally have that as our distraction, or at least what we find as the rat race, and we keep moving along. We're jogging on this treadmill that we've created. Now that's actually come to a pause. And what that means for a lot of us is that self-awareness is going to start kicking in, or like those conversations that you're having in your thoughts. So I think more than ever, this time is showing us, instead of the highlight reel of like what we're doing, it needs to show the emotional well-being of like how we're doing. And that's what's going to come through, I think. Yeah, your perspective in this time now more than ever is so critical.
Yeah, well, perspective goes back to gratitude, doesn't it? And gratitude works not only for external things, but for internal things. And that's being grateful for everything that's around us, but also being grateful of every step and every small win that we have, and making sure that we celebrate it, and to know that we're moving in a direction. And a direction is better than no direction.
Yeah, that's it.
I want to talk about a big one for you, because I know your support system's been really good, and I know we're probably going to have to go back and play in your journey a little bit more. But I know that while we're talking about COVID, let's jump to it. You've found an amazing man, and I'm a big fan of him myself. He does a lot of good work of his own, and he's got a million skill sets. Not to take the highlight reel off you, Mel, but let's talk more about finding that support and the benefit that they are to us in all situations, but especially times like these.
Yeah, no, I am very lucky. Shout out to Pierre, my amazing, beautiful partner. He is incredible. But I think right now for COVID and for this time, and which is what I really want to get into, it is about relationships, and it is about having that support network. So I break it down into 3 things. You're either in a committed relationship, you're either trying to date or looking to date, or you're single or have just recently had your heart broken. All 3 of these situations we have tools that we need to still do and upkeep right now to maintain those relationships with ourselves and with those people around us. During this time, for me, we live in a really, really small studio apartment. So there's 2 folds to my relationship with Pierre. My partner is a lawyer. He has 2 law firms, one in Melbourne and one in Canberra, which requires him to travel back and forth between cities. So we do long distance in a sense, and he tries to come back on the weekend. So he'll be here for Saturday and Sunday, and then he's back there Monday to Friday for the time being, because the business is scaling on that side. What that looks like for my relationship is, how can we keep the spark and the communication while I've been stood down and have no work? So essentially, he's in essential services. So my partner's still working and he's still doing everything that's normal to his routine. However, my routine overnight has disappeared, and I've almost, in a sense, have to reconfigure what my purpose is. And that can take a toll on your partner if it's not in check and if you stop communicating that. So for me, the most important thing was having those clear communications, ensuring that he can still go about his daily routine and I can still keep busy enough so that I'm not becoming so dependent on needing him to fill up my cup or needing him to fill up my days and spend time with me because I've suddenly got all of this time. So that was really important for me to fulfill a routine. So for anyone that is, going through isolation right now, it's really, really important to keep a routine for yourself. So making sure that you are still whole, your partner's whole as well, and then together you can come back and create magic and power. But if you're not having your own routine, if you're not having your own independence, that's when your relationship is really going to suffer. You need to have your own purpose regardless of what your partner is doing. And if that means that maybe one of you are working from home, if someone's working from home, or if you're both working from home. So if you're both working from home, it's like, well, I've gone from spending probably 20%, 30% of time with my partner, because that's, some relationships survive on 20%, 30% every day, and they survive for the long haul. But now you're with your partner 100% because you're stuck in isolation and at home.
That'd
and if you're in
chaos if you're living with me.
But it means that it's quite confronting, and it means that you have, like, there's things that need to shift. So you still being able to, like, people might ask, how am I meant to find my own space when I'm living with, this person 24/7? If that means that you have to be on one side of the couch and like they have to be on the other side of the couch, that's fine. If you have to go 2 steps to the bedroom, like my house, and he's on the lounge room, making sure that you still have that time for yourself, because your me time is incredibly important. Your me time and their time needs to still happen. If you're working and there's not that much space, I say, like, try and stick to, I've been saying to a lot of people, try and keep a routine, whether that be like you go and have your coffee in the morning and then you go, okay, babe, I'm going to go and work on my laptop now for 2 hours. You're communicating with them that you're now leaving that space and you're having your own space and you're going to go work on your own thing. So therefore, like, well, if my partner's saying that to me, well, I can't be that, I have an understanding. I can't be that needy. I can't be like, give me attention, because they've communicated that now they're going to go and read, or now they're going to go and do work. And so I think allowing that clear communication to, making sure that you're managing that new space that you're all working within is really, really, really important. I hope that answers a little bit. Went on a tangent.
I love that. Have you got any advice for those single people out there, Mel, that are working through this difficult situation?
I do, actually, because I love this. I love relationships. So it's exciting because we all have relationships. We all need relationships. Our main purpose here is to make human connections and to share experiences and memories with one another and your loved one.
Belonging and connection. That's what we're wired for.
Mindful Oz. So if you are single or if you are looking to date, now is no better time than ever to be able to date. Why, you may ask? Because restaurants are closed and you can't go to a bar and you can't have that human connection. I find now it's a better opportunity to be able to meet someone and potentially evolve that story even more. So having a relationship is I'm willing to evolve my story with you. And two people then go and evolve their story together. What normally happens in our traditional way of dating, which was 4 weeks ago, but was potentially swipe on Tinder, DM or something, and potentially meet up with someone and at a bar, not really having a full connection with them because there's either alcohol involved or dim lighting or a movie where you're not even communicating anyway. And then you kind of set off. And for some, might have fallen into a one-night stand, and then that physical connection might then have finished your evolution of that story and it doesn't evolve into anything else. But what's happening now because of the social distancing is we have to discover someone a lot more. So I think opening up now and using that time to text, because there is no, I guess there's no fear or need to like know that it's like, oh, well, shit, now I have to like dress good and see them, because you don't have that. You can't go out. But you can't. But what you can do though is you can still stay digitally connected, and maybe you can text for a little bit now, and then you know what? Hopefully that evolves, because you can't actually get that much out of a person through text. Hopefully that evolves into a phone call. You can hear so much more of a person, their sincerity, their love, their kindness over a phone call compared to a text. So hopefully that evolution of your story then rolls into a few conversations. Those conversations, you really start to get to know someone, and you hold up, you still haven't slept with them. You still haven't kissed them. And maybe eventually that turns into a video call. And then now I'm seeing you and you're seeing me. And now we're on this video.
Yeah. So yeah, just so important that I mean, what you can get out of the difference between a text and a video call, and seeing behavior and seeing changes in eye contact, and I mean, this all correlates. The reason we're talking about this correlates all with looking after people's well-being of each other and understanding each other. And these things aren't just for relationships of intimacy, relationships of every nature. And this is how to strengthen them. And I mean, that difference between the text message to being able to see someone in the flesh and have a video call is still enables us to have a connection. And as we've seen, loneliness is the biggest cause of depressive symptoms. But loneliness does not come from a sense of, I haven't seen anyone for months, I'm stuck in this 4x4 walls. Loneliness comes from a feeling of not sharing any meaning or value with someone. So it's about picking up the phone and having that conversation. And as you're saying, Mel, like this, I mean, it correlates well with mental health and well-being, how we can tap into and feed people what they need to see, hear, and feel to be well or to grow and evolve.
And it's also, I think it's now picking up that phone, not because you feel like you have to, right? It's sometimes it's about picking up that phone. You don't have to have anything to say to your friend. I know I've been video calling my friends, and I'm just popping them up on my kitchen, or I'm popping them up in the lounge room, and I'm carrying on with my day. That's the company. When you've got a friend over, or you've got a partner over, you're not like always talking face to face in front of them and having these incredible conversations. Sometimes it's just having presence and not feeling so lonely. So I'll be cooking away in my own world, but it's just nice to sort of, and they'll be on the other line doing their own thing. And that's that connection and that company that I think we can still really benefit from, because we've got that technology now to tap into. It's still really important.
Yeah, it gives us a lot to look forward to when we get back to getting human connection back, Mel. Like, we might have developed something that leads us to feel very excited about the months to come. And I know for a lot of people, it's very hard to see the light at the moment. So what a way in which to strengthen something that doesn't exist right now, or create something that doesn't exist right now that leaves us in a better place in a couple of months' time, or maybe in a couple of weeks when these restrictions ease.
That's it. And, you know, the reality is that this pandemic will finish. The reality is that we will survive it. We will get through this, just like we get through everything else. We've been through worse. I'm sure that there are people that are listening to this live that have gone through way worse than, you know, this fear and this pandemic. You'll come out of the other side, and the worst thing that we can do is come out of the other side and not have learnt anything, have not doubled down on that gratitude and appreciation. I know I'm going to come out a lot more appreciative of all the things that I did take for granted. Just naturally being in a first world country with, you know, everything at our fingertips. Now with that restriction, we can realize how much we do cherish our family and friends. Throughout this pandemic, if you look online, there are not people saying how much they miss their Mercedes and their Ferrari and their Gucci handbags. There just isn't. Everything right now has come back down to the things that we value most, and that's love, friendship, and relationships and family.
Yeah, how's the Gucci handbags look in the closet at the moment? So what we will never be able to remove or have to put away in a closet is our health and well-being, and the relationships and communication that we have with other people. So what a time that we have. And as I mentioned on Brad's show myself the other day, is what a just I wouldn't mind if they just paused it for a little bit longer. I mean, what an opportunity to grow. We will never have this opportunity again, highly unlikely in our lifetime. So please, everyone, I mean, as I said, it's okay to go gentle with yourself and to acknowledge that there's going to be some ups and downs through this time, because it's a bit of a pendulum swing, like H said the other week. But also, what a time that we're never going to have again, to put some time and effort into ourselves and to learn to love ourselves a little bit more. And that's the biggest energy healer that there is loving ourselves, so that we can love everyone else and take care of everyone else around us.
And I know from my own experience, if I didn't have this forced, slowed down change of pace, I'm a very busy person. And I think I'll use that busyness to keep going on this hamster wheel. And now that I've been forced to slow down, I feel good. I feel stress-free. I feel relaxed. I feel re-energized, so that when the return comes, which it will, I'm going to be back ready and on that horse and ready to go again. But definitely a new Mel, more re-energized. And like, I've learned so many mindfulness techniques that I probably wouldn't have spent as much time on. I love the gym. I love working out. I love exercise. But I wouldn't say I normally meditate too much or do yoga. And through this downtime, I've now gotten myself into this lovely routine of morning meditation and morning yoga. And it's only 40 minutes or half an hour. Some days, if I don't have the time, I still do it for 10 minutes. And I know you can vouch for this. That 10 minutes for myself has been exponential to my relationships, to me, to showing up in my day. It's been incredible. It really, like, that energy radiates, and that time that I have in the morning for what I can control just sets the tone for the rest of the day.
Oh, so important, Mel. I love that you mentioned that. Meditation and yoga. Who's your go-to? What platforms are you using there for those?
Yeah, so there's a couple of good apps. There's some really, really good apps like Smiling Mind. Bloom's been a really good meditation and mindfulness app. But honestly, good old school YouTube. There's that much content on YouTube that you can get for free with video tutorials. You're doing it in the comfort of your own home anyway, so there's no one there judging you. And you can just do a quick 15-minute session of yoga, and like, you'll get hooked. And the guided meditation as well. I'm sure Mindful Oz has heaps of stuff. But yeah, there's that much free value out there that even if you have zero experience and no level of flexibility whatsoever, you can do something.
Yeah, yoga is not necessarily a workout, it's a work in. It's not about the stretch itself. It's not about touching your toes. Otherwise, I would have quit it a long time ago, because I can barely get my knees. But it's more about the breath work and connecting with those thoughts. And as I said before, I think a lot of us get around in the world at the moment and they watch all their thoughts go by because they're irrelevant to them. But what they're missing out is opportunity. Those thoughts that we got to grab and look at and acknowledge is an action signal for change. Our thoughts don't happen for no reason. Our thoughts belong to us because they're an action signal that something has to give, something has to change, or it's a message for us to implement or do something else so that we can take those next steps. And as I've always said, there's levels to this game, but we don't reach those levels if we're not willing to listen. And the only way we can listen is by slowing down. We slow down via the breath, via stillness, meditation, yoga, all these brilliant practices that help us see what's ahead for us and to see how to deal with what was behind us.
And what happens on that mat, it actually transfers to everything off the mat. Like, everything that you do on that yoga mat is a life lesson. It's so much more valuable than that 15 minutes. It literally transforms the rest of your day. And I honestly wouldn't have known that until I started practicing it and started advocating for it now. So yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, there we go. We got Beck Ross. Can't wait to start some yoga after my shoulder, Rico. Beck, I'm going to hold you accountable to that. So, I'll be sitting behind you making sure you do it. And we're going to go do it together. So please, everyone, I'm seeing some cool comments come through. Keep engaging with us. I want to give away these items tonight, and I'm going to give them away live on the show tonight. I want people to comment. Maybe throw your hand up in the air in a comment if you would like the Resilience Agenda book or the Ripples book. Let us know, and we'll be giving them away. But also keep those questions coming in for Mel. Less talking for me, more of Mel. Mel, I know you use...
Yeah, ask away. I love interacting. This is an interesting platform.
Yeah, we're interested in what you think and what you want to know. Pick Mel's brain. I mean, don't pick mine about relationships. I'm not in one. I don't know nothing. So, yeah, we've got an opportunity here where we've got Mel with a wealth of knowledge and experiences. So if you're keen to jump on and share some questions with us, share your thoughts, we'd love that. And also remember to throw your hand up in the air in the comments and let us know that you would like a free Resilience Agenda or a Ripple Makers book. Mel, gratitude, empathy, mindfulness.
Yes.
Talk to me about it. I know 3 very big components of your life, of my life, that GEM model that Resilience Project do so well with Hugh and Martin. Let us know. Let it rip.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few people on here, I think, that have heard me speak about this as well, but it's more essential than ever. And we need to practice it every day. It's not something that we can just tick off, is it? Gratitude, empathy, mindfulness, things that we practice every single day, day in, day out. A tool that I love sharing for gratitude is always about, it's about appreciating. It's about appreciation and being present. So for me, and I'm sure a lot of people do, the 3 things that they're grateful for in the morning that sets their tone for the day. And a little tip, I think, with gratitude is start getting really, really specific about your gratitude. It's all good and well for, I'm grateful for my friends, I'm grateful for my family. These are great. But if you went 3 layers down, your gratitude is going to get so much deeper and so much more whole and so much more fulfilling and so much more meaningful. And what I mean by that is you can say, I am great. So for example, like, I'm going to use Carlo's example, Taylor, but it's like, I'm grateful for my phone. But why? So let's go 3 layers down. Well, I'm grateful for my phone so that I can stay in touch with my family. That's 1 layer. But I'm also grateful for my phone because I got to call my mum today. And that was really important for me because I miss her and she lives in Sydney. So you're going 3 layers down for why you're grateful for that phone. And what happens is it starts tying it down to something that's personal now. What once was a third sort of object, you're now making it, you could now have 50,000 things that you're grateful for this one device. And I really am. Like, I'm grateful for Liv. Liv gave me a call today and she messages me during the day and it makes me laugh and I'm able to sort of share that with her. And that's something that I really am grateful for. So yeah, I think getting really specific with your gratitude is really important. So in the morning, and there you go, the gratitude journal. It really is important. Another thing is, it is all good and well to say the gratitude, but write it down. What happens from the moment that you have a thought and you transfer that into writing, it sends a signal to the brain and you remember that gratitude for a lot longer than what you would normally if you just said it out loud. There are some questions coming through that I'm conscious of. Yeah, so let's go back and forth. If you have time with that.
Yeah, 2 secs. I just want to touch on gratitude. I'm going to give you an example. I mean, you can see mine there. Some of it's quite personal, but I mean, I don't sit there and say I'm grateful for the world. I'm grateful to be alive. Yeah, as Mel said, get down and deep and dirty with it to understand and to read back these things and go, shit, yeah. For me, like, technology was the point the other day, and it was creating all this content is so manageable by myself for someone who doesn't know much about the use of technology to be able to navigate my way through these times and create things for people to still feel help and support. I'm very grateful for digging deep down into that gratitude, just not so it's, I'm just doing gratitude for the sake of doing gratitude. No, I'm really going to explore as to why I'm really grateful for this and sit in that for as long as it takes for me to write it, rather than just going grateful for the green grass, grateful for the blue sky. Tell me why you are, and then you sit in it longer rather than it just being, I've just got to do my gratitude journal and keep going on the day. Like, you can see how much I write they're empty pages, but you can move that way and you can start to see that there's quite a lot written down. I mean, I individualize people in there and the people that I've come in contact with today, tomorrow, and I talk about why and what I love about them. These are ways in which we can practice gratitude. So I just want to reiterate what Mel was saying there.
And just jumping in, 100%. If you can go 3 layers deep and ask that powerful question of why, we use the word why for what is my purpose. But if you just went as simple as gratitude and go, I'm grateful for this, why, answer it, say why again, answer it, and then try even one more why, because that's going to get to the heart of what's really, really important for you. And it normally will then go into some sort of value alignment, which is really where you will truly find fulfillment, when you find things that you're grateful for and that you can really appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Just...
Yeah, 100. The beauties of live feeds. No, I agree. I just I was just wary of some of the comments, Mel, so I lost myself there. Meredith is Ripple Mel's book. No, Ripple is a book that I'm in, but I'm sure I could get Mel to sign it for you if you'd like. What else we got here? Veronica, I like that. Never thought of it in the 3 layers before. Yeah, 100%. We just got to, I've mentioned for a long time now, it's about anything that we do in life, we should do it times 3. 1 for the person that's not doing it, 1 for ourselves because we deserve it. Don't mean to stick the finger up. And 3, I won't say number 3 because it gets me into trouble all the time, but do things 3 times, always better than 1 time. And it's the same with finding our purpose and our passion. Or as Mel said, with our value alignment, it's about asking the question and digging deeper so that the question sits and resonates and is dug in. So it's really, really important. It's the same with finding our purpose. It's, why do I do what I do? Why do I do what I do? Why do I do what I do? It'll eventually end up out at kids. Whereas if you just ask me, what do you love doing? And I go, mental health. No. What do I love doing? I love protecting kids and making them feel safe and supported and changing the world in ways that people can grow up in a world that's different to the one we live in. So once you dig a little bit deeper, you start to understand the solid foundations of why we do things. And it's the same with gratitude. The more we dig deep, the more we sit in it, the more we understand it, the more we recognize it, and the more powerful that gratitude is. However, if we're just grateful for the internet, grateful that Matt's running a show and that he's got Mel on, we need to understand why we're grateful for that. So the more we sit in it, the more powerful it becomes to us. So I agree with Mel's 3 tiers to that. I love that.
And Taylor, I just want to jump in and say thank you so much for using that tool as well. And I'm really grateful that you've joined us now on this journey. I know you've been engaging and stuff. So pat on the back for you as well. And everyone else that's on and spending the night with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Bunch of legends. And I mean, you've taken the first step to anything that we need to do on our wellness journeys. That's have the acceptance or the ability to know that we can learn and always be better. So this is a good place for that. Meredith, we always seem to focus so much on the negatives. It takes a big effort and long process to retrain our thinking. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Yeah. Oh, the name of my song by Siobhan Callahan Tasker, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Life is like that, Meredith, but there's ways in which we can retrain the brain to think of things in a more positive light. Australians are 7 times more likely to find a negative than a positive. Mel, do you want to answer this one? How do you retrain your brain in a positive way?
Yeah, Meredith, great sort of statement. We've turned it into a question and we'll dig deeper into that statement. But, as kids, a baby, an infant, just newly born, only has 2 fears in life. Fear of falling and fear of falling and fear of loud noises. Yes. Those are the 2 fears that a baby has. Nearly lost it there. And so you think when we navigate this world and as we start growing up, we suddenly have all these fears and we suddenly have all these setbacks and we suddenly have all these negative things associated to our life experiences. All of that is learned behavior. All of that is years and years and years of your environment, your circumstances, and your situation. So when you say it takes a big effort and long process to retrain our thinking, think about when it was the first time you even came into self-awareness and consciousness. We can guarantee that it was probably not that long ago, as your teens, your world is very subjective and you don't have that perspective and you don't have that peripheral vision. So by the time that you're coming into this journey of self-awareness, whatever that may be as a trigger or a trauma or whatever, force yourself to start asking a little bit deeper in your internal world. That's already, you've been in this world for perhaps 20 years, perhaps 25 years, perhaps 30 years. That's a lot of negative thoughts and negative thinking to try and retrain. So once you come into that self-awareness, it's a huge pat on the back because now you've begun. Now you've started that journey.
Yeah, well, isn't it something like 300,000 thoughts we have a day? 95% of those thoughts we'll have again tomorrow. So it's the difference in that 5% of our thoughts that changes our tomorrow. It's about being conscious about what we're doing to achieve, and it's a chipping away at it each and every single day. Like fear is a product of our imagination, and 90% of the things we fear don't come true. So yeah, it's a process. I mean, I think I got asked this question the other night, and I don't live in fear. I don't have any fears of anything, and that might stem from having attempts at my life and being in the places that I've been through. There's nothing left to fear, but also it's tireless work that's led me to a place of what's to fear when you're just living in the moment. There's nothing for me to fear because all I'm worried about right now is the conversation I'm having with Mel. And all I'll worry about after this is driving home safely. So if I'm living presently in the current moment, then everything outside of that is irrelevant to me right now, and there's nothing to fear.
Yeah.
Unless it's like you said, Mel, you go back to being a baby, and it's those loud sounds or the fear of falling. That's all there is to it for me. So that's not a pat on the back. It's just that's what you can achieve if you get to that place of stillness, of knowing that as long as I'm in this moment and talking to Mel, I have no fear, and you live every moment like that, being present to this current situation.
And understanding that, so like depression is normally a thing of the past, something that you can't let go of the past. And then anxiety is something that hasn't happened yet, which is the future. So what Matt's saying about being in that present, it is that stillness and that place of being present, fear cannot exist there and it cannot grow there. Fear is false evidence appearing real. And with that is, it doesn't exist. Your fear has no actual logic. It's an emotional tie to something that, yes, may have happened before, like you may have had your heart broken before. So then you've got fear of stepping into a new relationship. What if this person hurts me again? What if I'm vulnerable and I give my heart to this person and they hurt me again? Because I won't be able to come back from that, right? We start thinking about worst case scenario instead of thinking of potential best case scenario. Because if you let your heart out again, if you're vulnerable again, how about if it's the best thing that you've ever experienced? You have to choose love over fear.
Yeah. One of the ones that I've always loved is how we show up in the game is how we show up in life. Now, it doesn't matter what we're doing. If we show up in fear or tiptoeing or putting our feet in the water and then pulling them back, or being scared or not having the courage to be all in, well, then we might miss out on beautiful opportunities. But how we show up in the game is how we show up in life. So how do you want to live the rest of your life? And it comes back to that value alignment. If I could ask you one question, how would you live tomorrow if you knew that it was your last day? Would you live in fear? I don't think so. So that's, if you live in the present moment and know that tomorrow's all you got, then you'll jump in. And how you show up in the game is how you show up in life. So that's the process in which I live every single day. And I think Mel would be much similar. And that's why I guess being productive and innovating, creating change, we've seen from so many people in our lives, and every single person listening, is to know that when your time's up, your time's up. So where you're living in the future in that anxious state of fear, worrying that something might happen that you might not even get to that point in your life. So it's about being in the moment, and that comes all back to what we've talked about in this episode of stillness, of breath work, of meditation, of yoga. Mel's talked about, well, we're talking about gratitude and mindfulness and empathy. It's all the same things that help us slow the process down. And I couldn't think of a better time to be alive to practice stillness than in COVID-19.
Yeah. We've just skipped a question, sorry, and I really want to get back to Kerry. Kerry asked, what's best tips for meeting new people to start dating again?
I'm glad that one's at you, Mel. I've got no idea.
What's best tips for meeting new people to start dating again? My answer is working on yourself and being your best self, regardless of wanting or needing to meet new people again. And I call this either you have the hangover, or you either have the athlete sort of recovery. The hangover is when you put a Band-Aid over it and for short-term gain, you go out and have a boozy night out and try and meet someone like that. Or you swipe on Tinder and you try and just have a quick fix. Whatever it is, it's a short-term gain of that, trying to cover that sense of loneliness, which is where one-night stands might happen, or like we go into relationships that might not necessarily serve us. But if you can so with an athlete, right? Say an athlete tours their ligament on their, I'm not an athlete, clearly, in their leg. What do? An athlete will look after that space but they will still continue to work their top muscles. They'll still continue to go and do rehabilitation. They'll still eat healthy. They'll still drink plenty of water. They'll still practice mindfulness and work on every other area of themselves until that area, their ligament, is fully recovered again so that they're their best selves. So when it comes to meeting people, I say, if your heart has been broken or your heart is the only thing that's left being full, what you can do though is work on yourself, work on every other part of yourself. Absolutely love and thrive in your career, in your physical health, in your mental health. Thrive in every other area, because then when that person comes along that might help heal that part of your heart that's broken, you're already ready. You're your best self. That's how you're going to go out and meet people. And you're not even going to just meet one person. You're going to meet so many people that are going to love that energy when you're your best self. The amount of friends and the amount of people that you just instantly network and connect with, that's how you're going to be able to get back in the game, by loving yourself first, putting yourself at the forefront, and not even looking for it. That's when it's going to come, and it will come.
Agreed. I just put up a post today, everything energy, and I'll just read it out for you. Who was that? Was Kerry. Yeah, Kerry. Everything energy, and it's exactly what Mel's talking about. I wrote, your thoughts begins it, your emotion amplifies it, your action increases its momentum. Energy flows where your attention goes. When you put the time and effort into you, because you're the priority, the world looks after people who look after themselves and to put the best version of themselves out in the world. So people will flock to you when you have the energy that attracts them. So for a long time, I attracted broken people because I was a broken person, or attracted broken people because all I was doing was helping others and not myself. So the world will throw the right people in front of you, but only will you know that they're the right people if, like Mel said, you're ready. And that's a big one for me. Know your own self-worth, know your belonging, know who you are, so they don't become those ugly situations that we so often see. Now, Mel, I've seen another couple of questions here.
Yeah.
We've got Sharon Atwell. Hey, Sharon, how are you? Do you have any advice for teens at home studying to keep their motivation going? This girl right here is one of the most motivated pocket dynamos that just goes mad and gets a whole heap of shit done, and I love watching it. So, Mel, hit them with mindset and motivation.
Yeah, so first of all, motivation it's fleeting. I don't actually believe in motivation. If I did everything because I had motivation, I wouldn't have done half the things that I've done. But the word that we should probably use, and teens to use, is discipline. So how important discipline is to stay studying at home. So I'm assuming that you have a child that is homeschooling now, which means that their routine and that their life has basically shifted. How you can stay disciplined in studying and making sure that they've got that space is, one, routine. Still the act of so if you're studying at home, the act of getting out of bed, getting dressed, doing what you would do normally if you went to school, having your breakfast and stepping away from the bedroom, making your bed, whatever that looks like, having that routine still set in place in somewhat way is going to help you stay studying. So making sure that the studying space or the work space is different to your relaxation space. You can't actually work on your bed. We try, but it's not the most helpful way, and we definitely don't retain information because the bed is for sleeping or like lounging out and watching Netflix. But if you want to actually study, you need to have that space where all your stuff is actually there to study, like your books and potential motivational or empowering quotes, anything like that inspires you to keep going. The second thing as well would be then, well, I said to dress up and to show up. So getting changed, that act of actually getting changed and being in that new space is really, really important. And also I think studying and not having any distractions, actually turning your phone off, stepping away from technology and giving yourself whatever time it is, potentially, even if it's just an hour of good solid studying or an hour of good solid work, and then rewarding yourself with a 5-minute break and stepping out from that, and then getting your fix of notifications or whatever it is. As a child, as a teen, it could be really, really hard. We feel anxiety the moment that our phone leaves us, but having that good practice of having that stillness and that space to actually just focus on the one task at hand is going to help your concentration a lot. So in terms of concentration, we really aren't that great at multitasking. Humans don't really know how to multitask. If we get a notification or something, our brain already wants to go pick it up or hear it, and that already will then...
The brain can only do one thing at a time.
100%.
Multitasking's bullshit.
It is. You're losing precious seconds, if not minutes, between tasks every time you switch. There are people out there, you know, I used to be one of those people too that have a million tabs on my laptop and say like, yeah, I'm just going to work on like all these different projects and all these different things. It actually doesn't work because your productivity is at an all-time low. So I think, yeah, definitely finding that hopefully you can create a space for yourself, and then having the discipline to shut off any technology and just doing the task at hand, even if it's for 45 minutes or an hour, and set an alarm and then reward yourself.
Yeah. Accountability always comes down to the why. Always asking yourself as to why you're studying. So, I mean, maybe that's a conversation you want to have. I'm not sure how old the teen is, but let's find out what he wants to do when he's older. Let's find out what he wants to achieve, and let's build the I know I don't believe in it, but motivation or inspiration, whatever one of those you want to choose, in something that he wants to achieve and something that he believes is achievable. So, I mean, as Mel said, create your environment, change your state, change your posture is huge. You know, the physiology of operating like this is much different to the intent that I have when I'm like this. So all these things are ways in which to engage in a young person's brain. But massively, like Mel said, I'd be full of praise for all the good things. It's not, and this is where we go wrong in the school system. It's we only ever hear from some teachers. No, I shouldn't say all the teachers, my bad. But we definitely hear from, I used to hear from the teachers all the time when I was doing wrong, but not very often when I was doing well. So praise goes a long way. It's a lot of people's love language to be reinforced with affirmation. So that would be big advice on the back of what Mel said. Mel, question time from me. On the spot and from the heart. Don't think too hard about these. Just deliver them, punch them, like I've always shared. Number one, who's your best teacher on your mental health journey? You've been ups and downs and had all sorts of things happen to you. You've ended up kicking ass and you're doing wonderful work now, volunteering for many different organizations. Who's been the best teacher on your mental health journey?
Easily my GP. I found a really, really amazing women's psychologist and GP, and she turned my life around because she was for the first time ever, someone in the professional industry gave me time and showed me that she valued me more than just that 10-minute session.
I love that. Hey, shout out to whoever that is. You are brilliant. The world needs more of you. People that show up and care, and reinstate my faith that the system is not as broken as it looks.
That's it.
What brings you the most joy, Mel?
Love. Love. Yeah, definitely love. It gets me up and motivated and out of bed. Love, I really truly believe, is the reason why we're here, to love and be loved in return.
Love that, and we certainly are. All we ever want is to be loved, to love in return, to be seen, heard, felt, and got. Mel, what does love look like to you?
Love is a journey. Love is progress. Love is ever changing, but it conquers all. I think early on, my idea of love was quite warped. You know, you grow up and for some reason you think that love is like Eminem and Rihanna and Love the Way You Lie, and it needs to be that fire, it needs to be toxic, and it needs to be like, I don't even know what it was, but it was not love. It was love for me is it's calm, it's still, it's patient, it's never giving up on someone. it's always been there, even if you don't feel like you have the answers.
Love that. Love, belonging, connection. There we go again, Mel. Thank you. Biggest achievement there'll be a few of these. Biggest achievement of Mel, you.
Pierre.
Oh, I love that. There's love again. Bang. Love it. Shout out to Pierre, you absolute rock star. Mel, I guess, who do you look for? I know motivation, inspiration, same sort of crap. Who do you look to from wisdom, guidance, advice in your journey of well-being, of mind and behavioral health, of entrepreneurship? Who are the people that you look to for all your education, information, knowledge, and wisdom?
I think, great question. I'm going to do a bit, I think everyone. I think there's something to learn from every single person and interaction that you meet. Yes, you might have your celebrity chief people, your mentors that are online on YouTube stars or anything like that, but don't underestimate your inner circle. Don't underestimate the people that are your neighbors that are ready with a helping hand. You can learn so much from them as well. I've got peers like yourself, Matt, and people in my local community that have really, really helped shift just small little golden nuggets that I've been able to grab from them and add it to my toolbox. That's all I'm doing in life's work. It's just about creating as many tools to stay as mentally well as possible to live a fulfilling and fruitful life. So yeah, don't underestimate them, but also seek professional help as well, because they will come with a skill set that your peers might not have. And don't give up on that professional help. Like I said, I went through revolving doors of professionals that did absolutely nothing, if not damaged me far worse than before. But not losing sight of that and realizing that not everyone has to mesh with you. Not everyone deserves to hear your story. Not everyone may actively listen, but eventually you will find that one person that you find that connection and you find that hope, and you'll realize why all those other people didn't work. So don't give up on the professional stuff as well.
Oh, I love that, Mel. If you can't find good people, just be one, huh?
Yeah.
Favorite podcast or book? I know you're big on both. You love your education, you love your learning, you love all those, you like the rants. So Gary V?
I knew you were going to say that. I knew after I saw you with Steph Sanzara's podcast, I just felt like, I don't know, I just felt like you were going to name drop Gary V in this conversation, which so you should.
I got introduced on a podcast the other day as the Gary V of mental health, and I didn't like it. I do like the work that he does, but I don't want to be known as the rant guy.
And you're Matt Runnels.
Yes.
Gary V, you're Matt Runnels.
I mean, I wish I could be as successful as Gary V, but I don't want to be known as the guy who just goes on rants.
He goes on meaningful, passionate rants, but if you don't know Gary V's content, honestly, his gratitude and empathy for every single person he comes across is incredible. So Gary is one of mine. In terms of like global or like big podcasts, definitely check out Lewis Howes and the School of Greatness.
School of Greatness. Lovely.
Yeah,
I'm going to type these into the comments. You keep them firing, Mel.
Yeah. Tom Bilyeu, B-I-L-Y.
Yeah, he's my favorite.
Yeah, Tom Bilyeu, Impact Theory. Really, really good. He has a lot of amazing a variety of people. I like variety. I love like learning about business. I love learning about entrepreneurship. I love learning about mindset, all of that sort of stuff. So that's really good. And for all the ladies out there and anyone that was interested in looking at more of those relationships, those relationship podcasts, don't underestimate Soulful Conversations by Oprah Winfrey, none other.
Soulful Conversations by Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah. So she's really, really good as well, and just gives that women empowerment perspective as well. And
sorry. Okay. Yep.
Confined by Walls, Not by Heart.
Nah, that's a waste of time. Love that, Mel. You've thrown me now. Do you read?
Do I read? Of course I read.
Some people just like the audio. No,
it's really, really important to read. Reading does a whole thing that audio doesn't. I think do everything, taste everything. If you like to watch things, watch it. If you like to listen, listen. And if you like to read, read, and do all of it because it stimulates all different parts of the brain and all different senses. So reading is equally important because it's your own imagination. You'll take it what you will read, it's such a personal journey. I will always love the paper and text in a book because it's your own space. So
favorite,
read.
Favorite books?
I have to probably like controversial right now, but anything that's Richard Branson, Virgin My Way, I think. Richard Branson's got a really, really incredible story, not just for business. I think just growing up, his challenges and struggles as well. It's really good to listen to his story. And also Michelle Obama Becoming was an incredible autobiography. Michelle Obama, obviously, Barack's wife there, and yeah, it's an incredible book and awesome. I will check that book out, Jamie. Thank you. And yeah, write all the books in there as well. I do love reading. So if you've got any amazing wellness books or just things that have opened up your mind, I'm sure I'll get some learning out of it. So write those books down.
Yeah, well, I think if everyone's tuning into Confined by Walls, Not by Heart, should be nearly a prerequisite that you got to read Johann Hari, Lost Connections. Unbloody believable. Or Brene Brown, Braving the Wilderness, Call to Courage, or Daring Greatly.
Yes, and anything that like Brene Brown on, just again, YouTube her free content. She's great.
She's fantastic. Mel, any superpower you could have, what would it be and why? You've got a few already, but what are you missing?
Teleportation. I would love to be able to teleport for not only my own selfish reasons to experience the world and get to see the world, but also to share my learnings with a wider audience throughout the world. As Matt, we're all bounded by the same sort of key values and foundations, and that's love and connection. So if we can love and connect more with all those around us, and if I can teleport to every area of the world and share a part of me in that area, then that would be incredible.
Yeah, and to learn from different parts of the world would be fantastic too. I know a lot of people don't get the privilege of that, so love that, Mel. 3 people, dead or alive, that you could spend the day with, who would it be and why?
These questions are like deep. Am I meant to be like, okay, 3 people that I could spend the day with? I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. So it would be J.K. Rowling. I love her journey. I love how she came up with the whole Harry Potter series, the 7 books, all on a train ride. And a lot of her analogies in the book and metaphors are to do with her own depression and her own sort of struggles and trauma. So I really love that, and I'd love to pick her brain about that, considering she's now one of the, if not the most successful author in the world to date. So J.K. Rowling. I'll probably have to say Gary. Gary Vee, which I'm just manifesting now anyway, so that's great. I really do think I'm going to sit down and have a meaningful conversation with him. I just think he really gives his time, and he gives a lot of value in a sense. And I've listened to a lot of his content, but I think to have a personal session with him where he can dive into something that's a specific strategy for me would be super beneficial and kick my gear into
overdrive.
Yeah, and that's it. And the last one, so kind of done. I'm gonna throw it out there and say Gandhi.
Mahatma.
Yeah, I am. I went to India in 2014, and I walked along the path where he got assassinated that morning. And I think in terms of like what he did at the time that he did, and it really goes to show that one person can change the world. A single person has the ability to inspire and inflict change, like actually change human behavior and thoughts. So I think it'd be really interesting to see how he did that. And that would also, there's a lot like Mandela, there's a lot of those Mother Teresa, those one people, those single people that shows you that you can change the world.
Gandhi quote, my favorite: if you think you're too small to have an impact on the world, go to bed with a mosquito in the room.
Yeah, try being a mosquito. Yeah.
Love that. Mel. One tip for players at home, what they can be doing in isolation to be looking after themselves?
Just one tip. Some sort of mindfulness practice. Honestly, like I hate to say cliche because like I'm on the Mindful Oz page, but one tool to really help you stay mindful. If you're present and if you're grounded and there's so much of the world right now that you cannot control. Your external world has been shattered. Your external world, just like all of ours, has been flipped upside down. So if you can control your internal world with whatever mindfulness practice works for you, it needs to work for you first and foremost, but making sure that you don't underestimate that 15 minutes of you time. It's so important. It sets your tone for the day. And actually, I'm just going to throw in a second tip. Make your bed. In the morning, the act of making your bed, and I've done this for forever, that sense of control and practice to make your bed and have that means that you can go out and achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve for the rest of the day. You are in control of that. And a cluttered bedroom and a cluttered car and a cluttered space normally does reflect a cluttered mind. So keep clean and keep tidy.
I'll do you one better. Make sure that when you make your bed, you open your blinds. So, yes, let that sunlight into your space. Let that sunlight into your life every single day. Look up at the sun and be grateful that it exists. That's another day, a new day, a day that someone else didn't get. Use those 1,440 minutes to change the world. Wake up proactive to the world and not reactive. So, as Mel said, by making your bed and opening those blinds, you're proactive. You've done the first task of the day. And once you've done the first task of your day, you can go on to achieve anything you want. However, if you leave that first task behind, you will leave a lot behind in that day. So important, Mel, so important. What would you have for advice for young Mel, that young little whippersnapper that's grown into such a jet? What would you, one bit of advice for her?
You know, honestly, I probably wouldn't give her any advice because she wouldn't listen.
Yes.
And the reality is that in hindsight's 2020, your hindsight vision is 100%. And when you learn in retrospect, it's amazing because you realize why the pieces had to fall the way they did. You realize why the things that happened to you at that time had to happen to you to get to where you are at. And right now, where I'm at is incredibly well. I'm mentally well and in a good state of being every day. I find peace, not to say that I'm without struggle and not to say that I don't grieve. I still go through all of that, but I'm much more equipped having gone through those struggles and those losses and that trauma. And every time that someone said no has only, for me, now just made me appreciate the people around me. And the people that are meant to be in my life right now, I absolutely love and adore. So I wouldn't give her any advice because it might have taken her onto another road.
I love that so much. I've been waiting for someone on a podcast to ask me that question so that I can say exact the same thing. No advice for young players. Go on your path, be who you want to be, believe in yourself and learn to love yourself a little bit more. There is nothing you can't do, young fella. What's next for Mel Ewan? Where can we find her?
What's next is waiting for these restrictions to lift. But you will see me curating much more events around Melbourne and around Australia. I still will continue to do a lot of advocacy work in the mental health and suicide prevention space. That's become my mission. It's become my purpose, and it gets me out of bed every day. So hopefully you do still see me staying connected. You can find me. I'm active on Facebook as well and LinkedIn if you want to find me on a professional basis, but I'm probably most active on Instagram, and that's just at Mellieu, MELLIEYU. And if you scroll down, I've documented a lot of my journey as well, so you can see those highs and lows. I've been really, really raw and authentic in terms of my content. So not every day's been a bright day. I don't always get to have these amazing, inspiring conversations with Matt, but these conversations matter. And if one person listening today has found something helpful in it, then Matt and I have done our job.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just nice to hang out with everyone tonight, and yourself included, Mel. I'm going to just change the state of those questions for a minute because I've missed something really important here. Tell us. Interviewing Mark Wahlberg in California. Yay.
I thought I got out of it. I actually thought I got out of that Marky Mark one.
Oh, hell no. I was going to put a picture up of Marky Mark and his Calvins, but I thought, no, I'll put this one up with you and him. Tell us all about that experience.
Most people think that that's been the highlight or accomplishment of my career or to date, my life experience. But
highlight of his career? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the highlight of his career, that's for sure. Look, I got to meet Mark Wahlberg. It's not a sentence that everyone can say. So I am pretty amazed by that and have a lot of humility for it though, because the best thing that I realized meeting someone that is worth $70 million, done all these amazing action movies, has arms of steel, is a yummy honey. What I've actually realized though is that he is just like me and I am just like him. When I sat next to him 1.5 meters apart, there should be another one where we are hugging, but when I was sitting next to him and talking to him, realizing that he's not different, we're all the same. We put people on a pedestal and they've gone through the same highs and lows as us. They've gone through the same struggles. They've reached awareness in their careers, but in terms of humanity, they're just like us. And that was a really, really good feeling, because that experience there has allowed me to just propel forward and not have an ego as well. No one's above you or below you. We are all human going through a human experience in this thing called life.
Love that. And I'm so grateful that you and so moved that you did get that opportunity, and no doubt it'll be just one of many, Mel, and maybe when we have this conversation in another 12 to 18 months time, there'll be some more guns of steel, some more Marky Mark photos, whatever it may be. But I don't doubt it for a second, because you're an absolute pocket rocket, doing wonderful things, kicking ass right around the world. And I know that with your mindset and the way in which you look after your well-being, the best is still to come. And I think the same of every single person here listening tonight. If you're here listening to this, you're in the right place. If you're taking a part of your midweek to listen to me carry on with Mel, you definitely should pat yourself on the back for that. It's something that I didn't always have the acceptance for. Mel wouldn't have always had the acceptance for, but because we found that acceptance, we're in much better places, and you're there tonight. So thanks everyone for your questions. I just want to leave you with one thing, actually. Two things. There is no key to happiness. That door is always unlocked. So when we all put our crap in the middle of a circle and then start to look at everyone else's crap, I reckon we'd quickly take back our pile of crap any day of the week. Know that whatever's happened to you is crafting you into the person that you are meant to become. You are beautiful, you are loved, you are worthwhile, you are unique, and at the very least, I love that. Mel loves that. Keep doing what you're doing and keep doing it as much as and often as humanly possible. Mel, just before we finish, one thing from you. Who are we going to give this stuff away to tonight?
Yay, giveaway. So how many is there?
Let's give away 2 resilience agendas, and let's give away 1 ripples. And
so we're going a resilience book to Kerry for asking directly exactly what she wants. So ask the world and you shall receive.
Yes. So we've got Kerry Searle.
That's it.
Cool.
I'm gonna say, was it a ripple book? Ripple effect?
Ripple book? Yeah.
That's going to Meredith for thinking that it was my book.
And Meredith, I'm going to write you a personal love message in there just so that you know that it's mine and not Mel's. And I might throw some extras in there for you.
Late.
Yep.
And is it one more?
Yep. Resilience agenda for 1 more person. I'll throw in some stickers. I'll throw in some lanyards for all these 3 people. I appreciate you joining us tonight. So let's fire away with number 3.
And I'm going to say, is Amanda Richardson still on? I'm going to give it to Amanda for contributing and also realizing that grief doesn't have a time restriction. And I love that.
Can certainly do that. Awesome, Mel. Love that. Love you. Can't wait to see your face. Look at that pearly grin. Everyone, keep smiling, stay safe, be gentle with yourself, remain upbeat in this difficult time. It's nearly over. And when it is, we can all celebrate, hug, smile more, and realize the beauty of the place in which we live in. As I said, open your blinds tomorrow, do your bed, and realize that the sun's come up and it hasn't for someone else. What a beautiful time to be alive. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'll see you next week. I don't know who the guests are, but they're going to be awesome. Love yous and appreciate every single one of you. Thanks, Mel, and thank you everyone out there.
Time, it means the world. Thank you so much for contributing.
Love ya.
Love you.